Well, hello, my East Providence friends, and welcome back to Mrs. McCarthy's Book Club. I was thinking about how the weather is getting nice, and it's so good to get outside in your backyard or wherever you can safely get outside, and all the things that children can do and discover outside. So that got me thinking about a really special way to talk about outside. So we're going to do today some poems, just some few poems, an old-fashioned one and three and four that are a little more modern. They go all the way from the 19th century till the 21st century, and they're very short. They're not long at all, but I think that you'll really enjoy them, especially when you're outside and thinking about the things that you can do. I wonder, what do you know about poetry? What do you notice that sometimes happens with the words in poetry? I think somebody said it. That's right, they rhyme. And if words rhyme, what does that mean if words rhyme? You're right, they sound the same, but where do they sound the same? Do they sound the same at the beginning or at the end? You are so smart. You're absolutely right. Words that rhyme sound the same at the end. So I want to start with this old-fashioned kind of poem. I used to read this poem to my own children, and now I teach it to my grandchildren. It's kind of an old-fashioned poem. It was written a long time ago by an author called Robert Louis Stevenson, and it's called The Swing. Raise your hand if you like to be on a swing. Oh, I always love that. I even love it now as a grown-up. I love to get on that and have a little swing because it lets you see all over when you go higher. Isn't that interesting? When you get higher, you can see more. So let's read this. It's called The Swing. You can tell this is kind of old-fashioned just by the picture. And some of the words, I'm going to read it once all the way through. Then we're going to go back and look at some of the words and see what that means to us now, even though this was written a while ago. So here we go. The Swing. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it's the pleasantest thing that ever a child can do. Up in the air and over the wall till I can see so wide, rivers and trees and cattle and all over the countryside. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown, up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. If you learn this poem, you could say that in your mind as you're swinging. I'm going to read it just one more time, and we're going to look at what some of the words might mean in today's world, not when it was written a little while ago. The Swing. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it's the pleasantest thing. Ooh, we don't hear that word a lot, pleasantest. What do you think that might mean when something's pleasant? I think I heard it. That's right. It's really nice. It makes you feel good when something's pleasant. It's happy. It feels good. So, does it feel good to be on a swing? Absolutely. Oh, I do think it's the pleasantest thing that ever a child can do. Up in the air and over the wall till I can see so wide. What does that mean when you can see so wide when you're up tall? Does that mean you can see close things or you can see far away? What do you think? Oh, that was a good guess, but not quite right. That's right. When you're up tall and swinging that spot, when you get really high, you can see much farther away. Up in the air and over the wall till I can see so wide, rivers and trees and cattle and all over the countryside. So that means that probably a little bit near a farm too, because that's really where you see cattle on a farm. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown, up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. Now, till I look down on the garden green. Well, Robert Louis Stevenson was an author. He was born in England and in Great Britain. He was born, and they called their yard a garden. So this little girl on the swing is in her own yard, but they call it a garden. And when you look down at the garden green, that means she's looking at the lawn in her yard that's green. So I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. Oh, that just makes me want to go and get on a swing right now. I can't wait till I can see my grandchildren again, and we're going to say this poem as I give them a little push on the swing. Maybe you can do the same. So now I want to share just a few short modern poems about things to do in your backyard. Just sort of like being on the swing, or if you don't have swings back there, if you wait till you get to a playground, these are other things you can look for thinking about the poems. I love this. This one is called, well, the title is called Creepy-Crawlies. How many people, when you go in your backyard, you've actually looked? You've looked for little bugs that you discovered. Oh, you lifted up a rock and you saw something crawling under there and you weren't sure what it is. That happened to me when I would always explore. And I'm going to read this to you now. This is a poem. It's called Insects, and it's by Helen H. Moore. And she is a poet living today. So she's written this, within this century, she's written this. Here we go. Insects, insects everywhere, in the earth and in the air. Beetles brown and green and black, with tiny legs and shiny back. Ants and aphids, termites too, doing what they're made to do. Bees that bumble, flies that buzz, each one knows just what she does. Insects, insects everywhere, on earth and sky and sea. Each one has a place to be in our Earth's ecology. Oh, I love that, ecology. Ecology is a science where living things interact with their environment. Just like we want to have a good earth, we have to practice ecology. That's why we recycle, we do things like that, because living things have to keep their environment made so that we can live in it safely. Wow, I love this one. So here's another one that I want to do with you. This one is by the same author, Helen H. Moore, and it's very short, but it has a lot of information in it. It's called Growing Butterfly. What is this? It's a chrysalis hanging from a flower. Inside, a future butterfly is growing by the hour. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. A chrysalis. Have you ever seen that in a tree? And then it breaks open the little butterfly that looks like a bug, then the little part that's going in, and it transforms inside the chrysalis into a butterfly, and it breaks out. So you might see them kind of creeping along, and then you might see something grow, that chrysalis, and then all of a sudden, after a few weeks, the chrysalis breaks open and out comes a beautiful butterfly. I love that one. So these are all poems about our earth and what we do, but also things you can look for in your backyard or when you go to a park. You can look for things. Now, this is another one. It's called Butterflies Go Fluttering. And this is by Mish Goldish. And I love this. What does it mean if you flutter? What do you think that means? That's right. You're just sort of moving from place to place. You're not staying very long in one spot. And we know that butterflies do that, especially when you try to catch them. They jump and flutter from place to place. Butterflies go fluttering by on colored wings that catch the eye, on wings of orange and silvery blue, on wings of gold and yellow too. Butterflies float in the air, making their homes most anywhere. The rainforest, field, and prairie land, on mountain tops and desert sand. If winter brings the cold and snow, to warmer climates off they go. Returning home the following spring, beautiful butterflies on the wing. Then I just have one more. So we talked about creepy crawlers, all those kinds of insects. And then, of course, we talked about a butterfly. And now we have to talk a lot about a busy bee. And we see those a lot sometimes when we're outside. And this again is a poem by Misha Goldish. Here we go. Buzz goes the bee, hour after hour. Buzz goes the bee from flower to flower, sucking out the nectar, flying it home, storing up the nectar in the honeycomb. Buzz goes the bee, making honey so sweet. Bee makes the honey that I like to eat. Do you like honey? I like honey in my tea. So I want you to think about how fun it is to learn a lot in just a little poem. If we go back and look at that, sucking out the nectar, that's the science of what's in the flowers. And that's how the bees get that from the pollen and the nectar. And they bring it back on their legs. It kind of sticks to their legs, and sometimes they, as the poem says, they suck out the nectar and they fly it home. And then in the honeycomb, they're making the honey. So even from just a short little poem like this, we can learn a lot. So until next time, my friends, keep enjoying the wonders of a good book. And now think about some poems that you might enjoy as well. And always try your best. I know that you do. See you next time.